Now here to discuss the implications of the events of the last few hours is Dr. Jason Johnson, who is the Associate Professor of Political Science at Hiram University in Ohio, who's been up for a lot longer than I have, and I'm struggling a bit. Dr. Johnson, a remarkable night of political theatre here in Iowa.
Yeah, it is political theatre, but it's not necessarily, we're still at the intermission. This is a long race. It's not clear who's going to win it. Mitt Romney's going to say he won. Rick Santorum's going to say he's won, but really right now, the person who's celebrating the most is Barack Obama.
Because he thinks that both of them can be beaten in the general election?
Yeah, Obama has to look at this and say, look, roughly 75% of the voters did not want either of these nominees. And so he's looking at a field of candidates who can't seem to galvanize anybody. And so as weak as Obama is, he feels like he's really gotten a sort of a fair break out of this first primary.
Are you surprised that Rick Perry's decided to go back to Texas to consider his campaign, essentially saying it's over?
It's not surprising. I mean, Rick Perry came in like a comet. He was going to do this great job, and he's just absolutely flamed out. He's run a terrible campaign, full of mistakes, full of gaps one way or another. He's got the money, but he doesn't have the gumption or the heart for it. I'm not surprised he dropped out.
Is this going to be the high point, though, of Rick Santorum's presidential election campaign? Will he remember, the great days of Iowa in the weeks to come?
No, I think this is the beginning of something that might be kind of positive for him. If you look at what's going to happen going forward, Newt Gingrich basically declared war on Mitt Romney today. He blames Romney for his fall in the polls. He knows that he's not going to win the nomination, but he's going to go after Romney, which gives Rick Santorum time to go to South Carolina, build up a lead, and think about it. That's 14% of the vote between Rick Perry, who's out of the race, and Michelle Bachmann, and if 12 of those 14% go to Santorum, he could be in the lead.
Of course, Ron Paul, who 4 years ago did nothing in Iowa, finishes third. How big a factor is he going to be in this ongoing campaign?
Not much of a factor. Ron Paul came up and he gave a speech and he said, I feel really good about what I accomplished, but he's not that happy. He came in second place in the Iowa straw poll. He really hasn't advanced that much. If he had won, this would have been an opportunity for him to really turn some heads. But for him to come in third, I mean, again, he still plays the spoiler candidate, but he's not making the kind of influence that he wanted.
We have New Hampshire in a week's time. Mitt Romney's going to win that because he's well ahead in the polls. He's got ties to the state. So does South Carolina then become the real battleground for the Republican Party?
It's always been the battleground. Everybody knows that Mitt Romney's going to win in New Hampshire, and you get no credit for winning what everyone thinks you're going to win. So what's going to happen is, can Mitt Romney mount a sizable and successful campaign in a southern conservative, religiously conservative state? That's going to be his real challenge. If he ends up getting walloped in South Carolina, it's going to be a long, long summer and a long primary season for him.
And how much of a boost to his campaign will John McCain endorsing him in New Hampshire on Wednesday be?
Yeah, that's called killing me softly. That's not something that, think about it. Mitt Romney's biggest complaint amongst Republicans is he's not Republican enough. He's not sincere enough. These were the same complaints that people had about John McCain. So McCain's endorsement doesn't really help him very much.
Is this just really a reflection of the battle the Republican Party's had with itself over the last 6 months? It doesn't know whether to back the social conservative candidate who appeals to the base or the guy who could actually beat Barack Obama in an election.
Well, here's the catch. These two things are actually merged. If people don't get excited enough about Mitt Romney, what we call sort of limping into the championship game. I mean, he may end up winning this nomination, but if he hasn't galvanized anybody, he's not going to beat Barack Obama. So this is a fight within the Republican Party, but it's also about the future of the party, and the party's future doesn't look good right now.
There is a long way to go, but is Mitt Romney essentially still the presumptive nominee for the Republican Party?
Yeah, there's no reason to think that he won't win. There's no one else who's going to be able to raise money at his level. He has a campaign plan, and he's got money that goes way past Super Tuesday. Rick Santorum didn't think he was going to be in this position 6 weeks ago. He doesn't have the structure. He doesn't have the money. I think Romney's still going to pull it off.
Dr. Johnson, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you very much indeed for your insight and your analysis. We thank you very much indeed for that. So an incredible night.